Hello and welcome back to this channel. If you've been here before, or you are most welcome if you're here for the first time. My name is Becky and I'm a missionary here in Uganda with Mission Aviation Fellowship along with my husband Dave. And I've just been loving having the opportunity to share a few thoughts from the Bible with you. So here we are again today. You know, I've realized something about myself in this very strange situation that our world has found itself in during the last few months, and that's that I don't cope all that well with uncertainty. Once I know what's happening, I'm fine. You know, when I was told that we're going to be in lockdown for 3 weeks and then for an extra 2 weeks, I was okay with it. You know, I could manage. The worst days for me were those moments where I knew that there was a change coming and I didn't quite know what it was going to be. I had one day like that this week, actually, when the president was due to address the nation again to let us know if any lockdown restrictions were going to be lifted or what the next steps were for Uganda in this battle with the coronavirus. And, you know, I didn't feel actively worried about it. I wasn't even thinking about it a lot, and yet I found it much harder than normal to sit down and get on with anything. There was just this generally unsettled feeling of not knowing what was going to happen next. There's something about having no idea of what your life is going to look like in the next days or weeks or months that can be incredibly unsettling. And it just so happened that during this increased feeling of uncertainty, I started reading the book of Judges in the Bible. And in the passage in that book that I was reading, it was a time where things were incredibly unsettled for the Israelite people. For 7 long years, every time the Israelites had planted their crops and raised their livestock, they were invaded by the Midianites, who would take everything that they had worked hard for, leaving these people with nothing to eat and no hope for the future. I can only imagine how terrifying that must have been. You know, every year you would be wondering, when are they going to arrive? What are they going to take this time? Will I even survive this? Some of those questions, they kind of seem a little bit familiar now. You know, is the virus going to arrive in my household? When is it going to come? What will I lose with all of these lockdown restrictions? My job, my financial security. Will I survive this time? They faced uncertainty just as we face uncertainty in our time today. And Judges chapter 6 verse 8 tells us that Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord for help. And so begins the tale of a man called Gideon, a very ordinary man who God used extraordinarily to deliver his people from the hands of these raiders who were making their lives miserable. It's a great story, and it all starts when the angel of the Lord himself comes to Gideon and tells him that he is a mighty warrior and that he is going to deliver his people. I just love Gideon's reaction. You can kind of picture him looking around like, who? Me? No, sorry, I think you've got the wrong person here. You can read all about that story in Judges chapter 6 all the way through to chapter 8. But one thing that really jumped out at me as I read through it again this time. See, after the angel of the Lord had appeared to Gideon and told him what he's supposed to do, after Gideon has prepared some food for this angelic visitor and seen it set on fire right in front of his eyes and seen this angel just disappear right in front of him into the middle of nowhere. After all of that, Gideon decides that he's going to make an altar to worship God. It's a pretty sensible reaction, I think, to what the amazing things that he'd just seen. But what's interesting to me is what he named that altar. In Judges chapter 6, verse 24, it says that Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and named it Yahweh Shalom, which means the Lord is peace. The Lord is peace. After everything Gideon had just heard and seen, after all he'd been told that he was going to have to do, I could kind of picture Gideon coming up with some other names for that altar, maybe something along the lines of, wow, the Lord is awesome, or powerful, or mighty, or maybe, even a little bit terrifying. He could have gone along the lines of, the Lord is my helper, my strength, my victory, any number of words that might have given him some hope or some encouragement about the battle that was to come. Instead, he makes an altar to permanently remind himself and the people of his tribe that the Lord is peace. What Gideon realized is that in times of uncertainty, the most important thing to know is that peace is found in God alone. And that without that peace to ground us, it's easy to start to panic about the situations that we find ourselves in. We're in the same situation today. God has not changed. The Lord is still peace. And as we face uncertain days ourselves, we can completely rely on him, even when everything feels so uncertain and so unsettled. I'm sure that uncertainty will still threaten to overwhelm me, and as we continue to go through this virus craziness and whatever happens next. But when it does, I can confess that the Lord is peace, and know that he is in complete control of any situation that I might face today. That's my prayer for you today and this week, that you would know in your life that the Lord is peace, and that you would just feel that peace that passes understanding, no matter what comes against you, no matter what battles you may face. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. I'll see you next time.